Launch Now, your guide to instant action. Introduction. The moment is now. Welcome to the beginning of a major change in your life. Look around you right now. Everything you see, the chair you are sitting on, the light in the room, the clothes you are wearing, it all started with one powerful thing: action. It started because someone, somewhere decided to stop thinking and start doing. They decided to launch now. For too long, you might have been stuck in the waiting room of your life. You have been waiting for the perfect time, waiting for more money, waiting for an amazing new idea, or simply waiting for the feeling of motivation to hit you. We are often told that careful planning is the most important step. We hear the advice: think things through, plan every detail, measure twice, cut once, and yes, being prepared is good. But for many people, the planning phase becomes a comfortable, soft cage. It is a place where dreams feel safe because they are never tested. It is where you talk about doing something amazing, but you never actually take the first real step. This book, Your Immediate Exit Plan. It is a simple, direct guide to breaking out of that cycle of overthinking and stepping into the powerful current of instant, meaningful action. It is called Launch Now because the most important lesson you will learn here is this: the perfect time to start anything significant was yesterday. The next best time is right this very second. You do not need another huge, complex system to follow. You do not need a 3-month course or a 200-point checklist. What you need is a simple, powerful flip in your mind, a permanent switch from analysis to action. This book is written to be easy to read and simple to understand, using clear language. The concept of launching should not be complicated. We are going to quickly away from the myth of perfection. We will stop waiting for motivation to strike us like lightning. We will learn how to make starting the easiest, most natural part of any project you take on. This is not about rushing foolishly without thinking. This is about moving deliberately before fear, doubt, or overthinking can build a wall in front of your path. Your dreams deserve more than just sitting quietly in your head. Your goals deserve to see the light of day. Are you truly ready to stop preparing to live and actually start living? Let's begin the launch sequence right away. Chapter 1: The Power of Zero. Why starting is the hardest and most important step. The biggest, most difficult, and most challenging obstacle you will ever face is not the end goal itself. It is not the huge mountain you have to climb, nor is it the massive amount of work you imagine is needed to get the final result. The biggest challenge in any journey is simply taking the first step. It is the difficult, crucial shift from 0 to 1. Think about a massive rocket preparing for liftoff. The hardest part of the entire mission is getting that heavy machine off the launch pad. The rocket uses most of its fuel and energy just to break free from the powerful pull of Earth's gravity, to move from sitting still to moving forward. Once that heavy machine is in space, once it has reached escape velocity, everything changes. The laws of physics are suddenly on its side. It can glide, it can float, and it can travel enormous distances with far less effort than it took just to start. Your personal project, your new business idea, your health goal, it is exactly like that rocket. Right now, it is likely sitting on the launch pad in your mind. It is at 0. It has all the potential in the world, but potential is not achievement. Potential is just a nice, interesting idea. To move from that hopeful potential to real progress, you have to break free from the heavy, invisible pull of inertia. What exactly is inertia? In simple science, inertia is the property of any object to strongly resist a change in its current state. If something is sitting still, it desperately wants to keep sitting still. If something is moving, it wants to keep moving. Right now, you are likely in a comfortable state of sitting still regarding your goal. This is a very powerful and comfortable state. Your mind tells you that staying put is safe. Staying put means no risk of failure, no chance of looking silly, and no extra hard effort. Your mind loves comfort. This comfort is exactly what we call inertia. This is the invisible, powerful force that keeps you stuck firmly at 0. Everyone struggles with this force. It is the blank page staring at the writer. It is the cold, empty gym for the person who wants to get fit. It is the completely unwritten first line of code for the programmer. It is the unopened book for the student. The major difference between people who actually achieve their biggest goals and those who only dream about them is not talent, money, or luck. It is their strong ability to push past this initial, invisible wall of inertia, the mistake of the big step. Most people look at their goal and only see the huge leap they imagine they have to take. They see the finished, perfect novel, the huge, successful business empire, or the final, flawless, perfect result. This big picture is very inspiring, but it is also completely paralyzing. When you look at the entire mountain, you immediately think, I can never climb that entire thing. So instead of even putting on your hiking boots, you stay at the bottom, thinking and worrying about the climb. The only key to overcoming this powerful inertia is to stop thinking about the big leap and start focusing only on the small push. The crucial shift from 0 to 1 should be so small, so simple, that it feels almost silly to not do it. Imagine you needed to clean your entire house, which is a massive, messy project. Looking at the whole house is incredibly overwhelming. It feels like a massive, impossible task. Your mind immediately says, I don't have 10 hours for this job. I will absolutely start tomorrow. And we all know that tomorrow never truly arrives. The power of 0 means you focus only on finding the smallest, most basic move that will start the engine. Instead of saying, clean the entire house, your first step becomes, pick up one single piece of trash. That is it, just one piece. This move is so tiny that your brain cannot use its usual excuse, too much effort, to stop you. It is easy, it is quick, and it requires almost no energy. But here is the magic part. When you move from 0 to 1, when you pick up that single piece of trash, you have broken the strong grip of inertia. The state of your house is now officially moving. You have switched from sitting still to moving forward. And remember the law of inertia. An object in motion wants to stay in motion. Once you are at 1, getting to 2 becomes much easier. Getting to 3 is natural and simple. You will pick up the one piece of trash, and then, because you are already physically moving, your brain will likely say, that was easy. Maybe I can quickly wipe down the countertop while I'm here. Before you realize it, 20 focused minutes have passed, and you have cleaned an entire corner of your kitchen, all because you forced yourself to take that single, ridiculously small, initial step. Your first small push. Whatever your current big goal is, the specific thing you keep putting off and delaying. It is time to find its simplest, most basic 0 to 1 step. If you want to finally write a book, do not try to write an entire chapter. Write one sentence. If you want to start a new business, do not try to create a full, detailed business plan. Search for one single keyword related to your business idea online. If you want to start exercising and get fit, do not plan a full 60-minute intense workout. Do one single push-up or simply put on your running shoes and walk out the door. This is not a mind trick. This is a fundamental, deep understanding of how your human brain and motivation truly work. Motivation does not cause action. Instead, action causes motivation. When you are stuck sitting still at 0, you are waiting for a magical feeling of motivation to appear. It almost never comes. You feel tired, completely uninspired, and deeply overwhelmed. But when you take that single small step to 1, you immediately get a tiny reward. Progress. That powerful feeling of progress, the small but important success of having started something, sends a strong signal to your brain that says, we are actually doing it. This feels good. Let's do another one. That feeling of having made progress is your real, lasting motivation. You do not need a huge emotional push to start. You just need a simple, single, physical action. Stop planning to start. Stop waiting for the perfect feeling to arrive. Stop looking at the entire giant mountain. Look only at the simple, small dirt patch directly beneath your feet and take that step now. The power of 0 is the power to finally start. It is the power to choose action over comfortable inaction. The hardest step is officially done the moment you decide that a small action taken now is infinitely more valuable than a perfect, detailed plan made later. Launch now. Chapter 2. The Lie of Perfection. Embracing good enough to launch. In the first chapter, we focused on breaking the strong power of inertia and taking that crucial step from 0 to 1. Now that we have started, we must face the biggest, most common wall that stops people right after they get going. This huge wall is the tireless search for perfection. The simple desire to be perfect sounds good. It sounds like a commitment to high quality, extremely careful work and great, powerful effort. But for most people, the hunt for perfection is not a noble goal. It is simply a very clever, silent excuse. It is the perfect reason to endlessly delay action. It is the sneaky voice in your head that constantly says, "It's not quite ready yet. Wait. Wait until it is completely perfect." But the deep, simple truth is that perfect is an illusion. Perfect is a finish line that constantly moves further and further away the closer you think you get to it. The most dangerous mistake you can make when trying to launch any project is believing that your first attempt, your very first product, must be your best attempt. This dangerous idea is the lie of perfection. This lie traps extremely talented, smart people in a cycle of constant tinkering, endless planning, and absolutely zero delivery. They spend months or even years trying to polish a rough product, write a completely flawless first chapter, or design a truly perfect website before anyone else in the world gets a chance to see it. And while they are stuck polishing, the real world is moving on. Other people, who were simply brave enough to launch something that was just good enough, are already succeeding, making sales, and learning huge lessons. Think about any great inventor, famous writer, or successful business owner you know. None of them started with perfection. They all started with a rough draft, a clumsy, ugly prototype, or a shaky, nervous first performance. Thomas Edison, the man who invented the light bulb, is famous for saying that he did not fail 10,000 times. He simply found 10,000 different ways that would not work. His first attempt at creating a light bulb was not perfect at all. It was, by definition, a failure. But he learned an enormous amount from it. If he had waited until he had the final, perfect idea fully formed in his head before he even tried a single wire or filament, we would all still be living in the dark. Perfection is not a starting point. It is a direction. It is something you move steadily towards after you have started, not before you start. When you launch something that is simply good enough, you are doing something far more valuable than aiming for flawless perfection. You are gathering essential information. The real world is the best, strictest, and most honest teacher you will ever have. You can sit alone in a room and plan for years, but you will never truly know what people want, how your product really works in practice, or what your audience genuinely thinks until you finally put it out there for them to see. The one and only goal of the first launch is not to achieve perfection. The goal of the first launch is to achieve feedback. Feedback is the powerful fuel that allows you to improve your work. If you launch something imperfect, people will naturally tell you exactly what is wrong with it. And this must be seen as a great gift. They are giving you the clear, specific steps you need to take to make it better for them. But if you keep it hidden and secret, waiting for it to be perfect, you get nothing but silence. And silence teaches you absolutely nothing useful. You must stop being afraid of looking foolish or having flaws. When you launch an early version of your project, you are sending one clear, powerful message to the world. This is my starting point, and I am ready and committed to improving it. Only people who never try anything at all are safe from criticism. And what kind of life is that to live? A life where you are completely safe from criticism is also a life where you are completely safe from success, safe from learning, and safe from true growth. You must embrace the simple but powerful concept of the minimum viable product, or MVP. This is a very simple idea, and it just means launching the smallest, most basic version of your idea that still manages to work and provides some clear value to the user. If you want to start a new fitness app, your MVP is not a giant, complex program with 500 features and beautiful, detailed graphics. Your MVP might simply be an email newsletter where you send out one workout plan every morning. It is simple. It is enough to launch. You can then watch exactly who signs up, see which workouts they like the most, and use that real, practical information to build the much bigger, better app later. The key idea to remember is that done is better than perfect. A finished, imperfect project is a real tool you can immediately use. An unfinished, perfect project is just a protected dream. The finished, imperfect thing is out there in the world making things happen, gathering data, and helping you learn and improve. The perfect, unfinished thing is doing nothing at all. This chapter is your urgent call to lower your standards for starting. Lower the bar for that very first step so low that you can jump over it easily. Do not confuse launching a simple, good enough version with being a person who does bad work. You are simply choosing to be a person who is practical and fast. You are choosing speed over polish in the initial, crucial phase. You are prioritizing the most important thing in this entire book, getting into the game right now. Look at your clock. Look your idea. What is the one small part of it that you can launch right now that is functional? Even if it is not beautiful, that is the part you should focus on. Give yourself a hard, strict deadline. 2 days, 3 days, 1 week. Then, launch it. Push it out into the world. It will not perfect. It will likely have small, correctable mistakes. But the physical act of launching it will change everything for you. It will immediately move you from being a person who just dreams to being a person who actually does. It will start the flow of feedback, and that feedback is exactly what will eventually lead you to true, real-world excellence. Stop waiting for the moment of perfection. Launch now and let the action teach you how to get better along the way. Chapter 3: The Decision Catalyst. Choosing action over analysis. We have successfully broken through the initial wall of inertia and defeated the false need for perfection. Now, we face the next great enemy of action, which is the comfortable, dangerous trap of overanalysis. This is the habit of thinking so much about a decision that you never actually make it. It is the feeling of being stuck in a loop where you weigh the pros and cons, look at all the possible options, and worry about every tiny detail until the time to act has completely passed. This constant thinking and weighing is what we call analysis paralysis. Analysis paralysis is a gentle form of procrastination. It feels productive because you are working hard in your head. You are running different scenarios, reading articles, asking for advice from 10 different people, and gathering endless amounts of data. But none of this hard work is actually moving you forward. You are busy, but you are not progressing. You are simply trading real action for the illusion of research. This is the moment where you must understand that too much information and too much thought can be just as dangerous as too little. In this chapter, we are going to learn how to become a decision catalyst. A catalyst is something that speeds up a reaction without being changed itself. You need to become the force that speeds up the process of moving from a thought to an action. The key is to realize that most decisions you face are not life or death situations. Most of the time, choosing one path is only slightly better than choosing another, and almost always, choosing any path is far better than standing still at the crossroads, frozen by fear. You must accept the simple truth. You will never have all the information you want. If you wait until you are 100% sure about a decision, you will wait forever. The world moves quickly, and opportunities do not wait for your detailed spreadsheet to be finished. Real-world information, the kind that truly matters, only shows up after you launch. Therefore, the goal is not perfect certainty. The goal is acceptable risk. When you have enough information to feel about 70% sure, that is your launch signal. That remaining 30% of information must be gathered through action, not through more thinking. One of the best, most powerful ways to defeat analysis paralysis is by giving yourself a very strict, almost silly time limit for every decision. Imagine you are trying to decide which website platform to use for your new online business. You could spend 3 full weeks reading reviews, comparing pricing charts, and watching hours of video tutorials. Instead, give yourself a 15-minute limit. Say to yourself, I will spend 15 minutes researching the top 3 options, and at the end of that timer, I must choose one and start creating an account. When you force a decision under a tight time limit, your brain has no chance to spiral into endless worrying. It has to focus on what is truly important and make a good enough choice. Remember the words of General George S. Patton, a military leader, who said, "A good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan next week." Means that the speed and force of your action often matter more than the slight details of your choice. If you choose option A today and start working, you are already ahead. If you wait until next week for the perfect plan B, you have lost 7 days of momentum and learning. Momentum is an asset far more valuable than a slightly better plan. Furthermore, we must change how we think about making a wrong choice. Stop seeing decisions as either or wrong. Instead, start seeing them as tests or experiments. If you choose to launch your new product with a blue logo, test A, and it does not sell well, that is not a failure. It is simply a successful experiment that told you, do not use blue. You have gained valuable information. Now you can quickly choose a different color, a red logo, test B, and launch again. If you had spent 6 months analyzing colors, you would still be at the starting line, while the person who chose blue in an hour is already moving on to red and getting closer to the right answer. So, how do you become this decision catalyst in your daily life? First, practice making small decisions quickly. When choosing a lunch spot or a movie to watch, stop overthinking. Just choose the first good option that appears. This practice builds a muscle of decisive action. Second, for your big goals, adopt the 70% rule. Once you hit 70% certainty, stop researching immediately and start doing. The final 30% will be revealed in the process of action. Finally, adopt a clear rule. No decision can be held for more than 24 hours. If a choice comes up, you must resolve it within 1 day. Force yourself to choose the best path you see right now. Choosing action over analysis is the heart of living a life of continuous progress. Stop thinking so much, trust your judgment, and launch now. Chapter 4, The 5-Minute Rule. Breaking down giant goals into tiny tasks. We have now established the mindset for instant action. You know how to start, you know that perfection is a lie, and you know how to make decisions quickly. But even with this strong mindset, sometimes a project still feels too big. It looks like a huge, intimidating monster, and even the bravest person can hesitate. This feeling of being overwhelmed is natural, and it is the main reason why many people give up after only a few days of trying. To beat this feeling, we need a simple, powerful tool that breaks down the monster into tiny, harmless pieces. That tool is the 5-minute rule. The 5-minute rule is the most practical physical technique in this entire guide. It is designed to trick your brain and overcome your feelings of being overwhelmed. The rule is incredibly simple. Any task that seems too big or too hard must be immediately reduced to a size that can be completed in 5 minutes or less. You are not allowed to think about the whole task. You are only allowed to think about the next 5 minutes. Think about a huge project you are facing, maybe writing a 20-page report for work. If you look at the whole 20 pages, you feel sick. Your brain immediately resists this huge effort. But if you apply the 5-minute rule, you stop thinking about the report and you only ask, what can I do for just 5 minutes right now? The answer might be, create a new document, write the title, and write down 2 main points. This task is easy. It is simple. It is over before your mind can properly complain about the effort. The magic of this rule is twofold. First, it completely removes the feeling of being overwhelmed. You can handle 5 minutes of anything. 5 minutes is too small to be scary. Second, it activates the power of momentum that we discussed in the first chapter. When you start and finish that small 5-minute task, you have a feeling of success and completion. That small feeling of success releases chemicals in your brain that make you want to do another 5-minute task. You use the 5-minute rule to create a chain of success, not just one big jump. You finish the first 5 minutes, and you are no longer at a standstill. You are now moving forward. You then immediately set the timer for another 5 minutes. Maybe this time, write the introduction paragraph. When that is done, you might take a short break, but you have already achieved a significant part of the goal. The huge, terrifying project has been replaced by a series of small, easy-to-do steps. This rule is not about doing bad work quickly. It is about starting quickly and building consistency. If you use the 5-minute rule to work on a big goal every single day, you will be amazed at how much you accomplish. 5 minutes every day is 35 minutes a week. That is real, actual progress. Compare that to the person who keeps waiting for an entire free day to work on their project, which never seems to happen. The person who uses the 5-minute rule will win every time. To apply this rule effectively, you must learn to chop your tasks. A big task like start a fitness plan must be chopped into smaller pieces like search for one beginner exercise video 5 minutes, or put on my running shoes and walk out the door 5 minutes. A goal like learn a new language must be chopped into learn 3 new vocabulary words 5 minutes. Always find the smallest, most immediate action. If a task seems too long for 5 minutes, chop it again. Use real timer. Set it for exactly 5 minutes. Focus completely on the small task. When the timer rings, you have done 2 things. You have launched, and you have won. This technique is how people build huge businesses, write massive books, and achieve incredible physical fitness. They do not all in one giant push. They do it 5 minutes at a time, making the process of starting so easy that they cannot say no. Adopt the 5-minute rule today and watch your biggest goals shrink down to a manageable, non-scary size. Launch now, 5 minutes at a time. Chapter 5. Eliminate the wait. Removing roadblocks and excuses. By now, you have learned how to start a project, how to ignore the call for perfection, how to make quick decisions, and how to use the powerful 5-minute rule to break down big goals. However, as you launch and start moving, a new set of problems will appear. The excuses. These are the sneaky, clever reasons you give yourself for stopping the action. They are the little internal voices that constantly tell you to wait. The wait is always about something external. I can't start until I have the right software. I have to wait until my children are older. I need to wait until I have more money saved up. These are roadblocks that you create yourself, and they prevent you from staying in motion. To truly embrace the concept of launch now, you must become an expert at eliminating the wait from your vocabulary and your life. The first step in eliminating the wait is to understand the difference between a real barrier and a convenient excuse. A real barrier is something like being sick or having a severe emergency, which truly stops all movement. A convenient excuse is anything you are using as a condition for starting. When you say, I can't start my online store until I have a perfect professional photo shoot, you are creating an excuse. The simple truth is, you can start the store today using a photo taken with your phone. The perfect photo shoot is something to work toward later, not a condition for starting now. Most of the time, the biggest roadblock is not a lack of resources, but a lack of resourcefulness. When people say, I need more money, what they really mean is, I haven't thought of a cheap way to start. When you decide to launch now, you stop asking, what do I need to be perfect? And you start asking, what do I have right now that I can use to start? For example, if you want to start a podcast but feel you need a $500 microphone, you are using the equipment as a wait. A resourceful person asks, can I use my existing smartphone to record a decent sound test? The answer is almost always yes. Launching with imperfect gear proves that your idea is worth pursuing. If your podcast is good, people will listen even with a simple microphone. If your idea is not good, waiting for the perfect microphone would have just wasted more time and more money. Another common roadblock is waiting for the perfect time. People often believe they need a huge block of uninterrupted time, like an entire weekend or a full month of vacation, to launch their project. This is a powerful form of self-deception. Successful launches are almost never done in one huge, perfect block of time. They are built slowly and consistently in the small gaps of time we all have. This is where the 5-minute rule becomes your weapon against the wait. Instead of waiting for the weekend, you use 15 minutes before work or 30 minutes after dinner. You chip away at the goal every day. The best time to start is not when you have the most time. The best time to start is when you have any time at all. To actively eliminate the wait, you must physically change your environment and your schedule. Identify the things that often make you pause and remove them. If checking social media makes you hesitate and feel like your project is not as good as someone else's, then turn off your phone for the time you have set for action. If a messy workspace makes you feel overwhelmed, spend the first 2 minutes of your 5-minute rule to simply clear your desk. Design your environment for instant action. Finally, you must confront the emotional wait, which is waiting for permission or approval from others. Many people delay their launch until their friends, family, or partner give them their blessing. While support is nice, you must remember that your dream is yours alone. Other people cannot see your vision as clearly as you can, and their hesitation should not be your roadblock. The moment you decide to launch is the moment you give yourself the only permission you will ever need. Eliminate the emotional weight by giving yourself the final authority on your own actions. Stop waiting for the world to be perfect. Stop waiting for the right tool, and stop waiting for permission. The time is now, and you must launch now with what you have. Chapter 6: The Feedback Loop. Action, Review, Adjust, and Relaunch. Congratulations, you have launched. You have put your idea, your product, or your rough draft out into the world. This is a massive victory. But the story does not end here. The action of launching is not a finish line. It is simply the starting point of what we call the feedback loop. The feedback loop is the simple, powerful process that turns your initial, perfect launch into eventual excellence. It is the engine of true progress. Many people think that once they launch something, they are done. They sit back and wait for success to happen. But a successful journey is not one long, perfect road. It is a series of many small launches, each one slightly better than the last. This loop has 4 essential parts, and you must practice them in order: action, review, adjust, and relaunch. The first step is action, which you have already taken by launching. Your initial action was your bold first move. The second, most crucial step is review. Once you launch, you must stop and truly look at the results. This review is not about feeling bad or criticizing yourself. It is a cold, simple investigation. You are acting like a scientist looking at data. You need to ask yourself tough questions. Did people use the product the way I thought they would? Which part of my writing they skip over? Did the first advertisement work? And if not, why? Do not let your feelings get in the way of the facts. If the numbers show that your idea is flawed, you must accept it. This is not failure. This is learning. The third, adjust. Based on the hard information and feedback you gathered in the review, you must make a change, a tiny, focused change. Do not try to redesign the whole project. Just fix the 1 or 2 biggest problems you found. For example, if people stopped reading your article after the first 2 paragraphs, your adjustment is simple. Rewrite those first 2 paragraphs to be more engaging. If your simple workout plan was too hard for beginners, your adjustment is to make the next week's plan easier. The adjustment must be small, specific, and directly related to the feedback. The final step is relaunch. This is the key part that many people skip. You take your slightly improved product or idea, and you put it back out into the world immediately. You do not wait for a perfect moment. You quickly. You launch the new, slightly better version, and you immediately start the loop again. You take action, you review the results of the new launch, you adjust based on the new information, and then you relaunch once more. This process is the real secret to success. Every single time you complete the loop action, review, adjust, relaunch, your project gets stronger, smarter, and closer to perfection. You are not waiting for inspiration. You are building progress through consistency. The famous business saying is fail fast. This does not mean be careless. It means launch fast, learn fast, and fix fast. The sooner you launch, the sooner you can start the loop and the faster you will improve. Do not wait for a perfect chance to launch your final product. Instead, plan to launch the imperfect product many times, improving it a little bit each time. Use the feedback loop to turn every action, even one that doesn't work perfectly, into a powerful step forward. Launch now and let the loop of progress carry you forward. Chapter 7: The Relentless Why. Reconnecting to your purpose for endurance. You have launched. You have started the crucial feedback loop. You move forward. But as you continue down your path, you will inevitably hit a wall. It is not the wall of inertia, and it is not the wall of analysis. It is the wall of fatigue and doubt. The initial excitement of starting will fade away. The work will become hard, boring, and routine. This is the point where most people stop. To overcome this wall and keep going, you need something deeper and stronger than motivation. You need a powerful, burning why. Your why is the single, simple, most important reason you are doing this work in the first place. It is not about the money you hope to make, and it is not about the praise you hope to receive. Those things are nice, but they are easily taken away. Your why is the deep, personal purpose that drove you to action. It is the fundamental problem you are trying to solve, or the impact you want to leave on the world. This deep reason gives you endurance. Think of your why as the relentless engine of your project. When the engine of immediate motivation runs out of gas, your why kicks in and forces you forward. If you are writing a book, your simple why might not be to be rich, but to share this one essential idea that changed my life and might change someone else's life too. If you are building a business, your why is not to sell a product, but to make this one part of people's lives easier and better. This why needs to be something that matters only to you. You must connect your daily, often boring tasks to this large, meaningful purpose. If you are struggling to sit down and write a difficult email to a customer, you must remind yourself, I am writing this email not just to clear my inbox, but because every happy customer helps me fill my why of solving a problem for people. When you connect the small, unpleasant task to the huge, inspiring reason, the task suddenly becomes less burdensome and more meaningful. To find your relentless why, you can use a simple, powerful technique called the 5 whys. Start with your goal. Be my own important. Because I want to have control of them. Because I want to spend my truly help people. Because in making people's lives full. Why is that in purpose? Because the source of calm in a practical world. The final answer, the core purpose, is your relentless why. It is powerful, personal, and unbreakable. Once you find your true why, you must keep it visible. Write it down. Put it on a note next to your computer, on your bathroom mirror, or set it as a daily reminder on your phone. This is not just a nice thought. It is your emergency fuel source. When you feel the inevitable wave of doubt or tiredness come over you, you do not try to force yourself to work. Instead, you stop, read your why, and reconnect with that powerful feeling of purpose. This reconnection is what gives you the energy to keep launching, keep reviewing, and keep adjusting. Your purpose is the only thing strong enough to overcome long-term exhaustion. You must guard it, use it, and let it drive your continuous launch. Chapter 8: Building Action Habits. Making action automatic. We have covered the mindset and the purpose. Now we must talk about the physical reality of continuous action. The secret to long-term success is not relying on heroic willpower or bursts of energy. The secret is simple, predictable habits. A habit is an action that you repeat so many times that your brain performs it almost automatically without using up any conscious or willpower. This is how you make the principle of launch now a permanent part of your life. When you rely on motivation, you are waiting for a feeling to push you forward. When you rely on habits, the action is already set in motion, like a huge machine running on schedule. Building an action habit means taking the small, 5-minute tasks we talked about and locking them into your daily schedule so strongly that they become unavoidable. The best way to build a habit is through a technique called habit stacking. This means attaching the new action you want to take to an old action you already do every single day. You take a behavior that is already automatic and you stick the new launch now task right after it. You never rely on remembering, you rely on the routine. Here is how habit stacking works. Identify a strong, existing daily habit. For example, drinking your first cup of coffee in the morning, brushing your teeth, or walking your dog. Then, define your new action habit, which must be tiny, using the 5-minute rule. Finally, connect the two using simple formula. After I current habit, I will new action habit. A bad plan. I will work on my business idea sometime today. Relies on willpower. A habit stack. After I drink my first cup of coffee, I will spend 5 minutes outlining the next step for my business idea. Relies on routine. The power of this method is that the old habit acts as the trigger for the new action. When you finish your coffee, your brain automatically gets the signal that it is time for the 5-minute task. It removes the decision-making process. You don't ask, should I launch now? You just do the launch because it is the next step in the established routine. For your big projects, focus on establishing just 1 or 2 key action habits per day. A writer's action habit might be, after I make my bed, I will write 1 single paragraph. A fitness enthusiast's action habit might be, before I watch the news in the evening, I will do 10 squats. By consistently performing these tiny actions, you achieve 2 things. You make real, measurable progress on your goal, and you train your brain to see action as the default, comfortable state, rather than inaction. Do not chain of the habit. If you miss a day, do not let that turn or 3 days. If you completely mess up, immediately get back on track the very next day. The key is never to miss 2 days in a row. Habits are the reliable ropes you use to climb the mountain. When the path gets too steep and slippery, stop waiting for inspiration to launch you. Instead, build strong, automatic action habits that force you to launch every single day without fail. Chapter 9. Handling the crash. Bouncing back when things go wrong. We have been focusing on the positive momentum of launching and building habits. But to truly live a life of continuous action, you must prepare for the moment when everything goes wrong. Because, your first launch might fail completely. The perfect habit you built might crash after a bad week. You will face criticism that feels unfair, or your energy will simply drop to 0. This is what we call the crash. The crash is not a sign that you should stop. It is simply a predictable part of the process. The difference between people who succeed and those who quit is not that one group avoids the crash. It is that the successful group has a clear, quick plan for how to bounce back. They understand the vital principle of resilience. Resilience is simply the ability to absorb a shock, learn from the damage, and return quickly to your original shape. When the crash happens, your first response will be emotional. You will feel anger, frustration, or a strong urge to quit and return to the comfortable state of 0. Your first job is to delay the emotional reaction. Do not make any major decisions in the immediate moment of the crash. If your product launch fails, do not immediately shut down the business. If you miss 5 days of your new habit, do not tell yourself you are a failure and quit forever. Instead, give yourself 24 hours to simply be upset, and then immediately move to the next step. Objective review. Objective review means looking at the crash not as a personal failure, as a failed experiment. You must use the feedback loop we learned earlier. Sit down and ask, what exactly caused the crash? Was the failure due to a technical error, a bad market, or simply a lack of commitment on a difficult day? You must find the specific facts, not the emotional feelings. If your running habit crashed, it was not because you are lazy. It was because you started running too far, too fast, and got injured. The injury is the fact. The solution is simple and practical, not emotional. Once you have reviewed the situation, the key to bouncing back is to implement the principle of minimum recoverable action. When you crash, your goal is not to immediately jump back to the highest level you were at before. That is too hard, and it will lead to another crash. Instead, you must find the smallest, easiest action that still counts as forward motion. For example, if your habit of running 5 miles a day crashed due to injury, your minimum recoverable action is not to run 5 miles again. It might be to simply walk around the block once. It might be to just stretch for 5 minutes. This tiny action rebuilds the chain of the habit without requiring huge willpower. It signals to your brain, we are still moving. We are not quitting. This minimum recoverable action is the bridge that gets you back from the crash into the flow of action. Another powerful tool for handling the crash is to remember your relentless why. When your project seems pointless because it failed, read your why. Remind yourself that the purpose is larger than this one temporary setback. Your why provides the fuel needed to overcome the pain and start the action again. The biggest mistake you can make after a crash is taking too long to restart. The longer you wait, the more powerful inertia becomes again. You must commit to the next day relaunch. No matter how bad the crash was, you must commit to launching something, even a tiny 5-minute task, the very next day. Mastering the crash is not about avoiding pain. It is about drastically shortening the time it takes to get back on your feet. Learn the lesson, implement the minimum recoverable action, and launch now again. Chapter 10. The Perpetual Launch. Living a life of continuous creation. We have reached the final chapter, but this is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning anew of living. If you have mastered the principles in this guide-breaking inertia, defeating perfection, building habits, and bouncing back from setbacks, you are no longer just a person who takes action. You, a perpetual launcher. This means you live a life of continuous creation and constant, meaningful progress. The perpetual launch is the understanding that life and success are not about reaching one single, distant goal. It is about treating every single day as a new launch opportunity. You no longer wait for a huge project to start moving. You are always moving. Your default state has changed from rest to action. To maintain the perpetual launch, you must embrace the concept of iterative growth. Iterative growth simply means that every new thing you launch is slightly built upon the last thing you launched. It is a commitment to continuous, small improvement over time. When you finish one project, you do not sit down and wait for a completely new, massive idea. You look at what you just finished, you review the feedback, and you immediately ask yourself, what is the single next small version of this that I can launch? For instance, if you launched the perpetual launch means you look at the feedback. If people loved Chapter 3, your next iterative launch is to turn Chapter 3 into a short, focused online course. You use the success of the first launch to fuel the second. This prevents you from ever going back to zero. You are always starting at 1.1, then 1.2, and so on. The perpetual launch also requires you to consistently manage your energy, not just your time. Because you are always moving, you must schedule time for recovery and reflection. This is not procrastination. It is essential maintenance. A perpetual launcher knows they cannot be running at full speed all the time. You must schedule periods of rest, review, and learning. Take time to read a book, take a walk, or simply do nothing. This recovery period is what refuels your engine so that you can launch again with fresh ideas and renewed energy. A short break is not stopping. It is preparing for the next launch. Finally, the most powerful aspect of the perpetual launch is that it removes the fear of failure entirely. When you are always launching, a single setback or crash becomes completely insignificant. If you launch a new idea every week, one bad idea is just 1 week out of your life. It does not define you. Your life becomes a rapid-fire series of experiments. Every result, good or bad, is just information for the next launch. You become a person who is constantly learning, constantly creating, and constantly moving forward. The biggest challenge in life is not finding a reason to start, but finding a way to never stop. By adopting the mindset of the perpetual launcher, you ensure that action is no longer something you force yourself to do. It becomes who you are. The time for waiting, over. The time for perfection, gone. The time for fear is past. The only time that matters is the time you have right now. Go forth, live in the loop of action, and commit to the journey of continuous creation. Launch now. Conclusion. The commitment to motion. You have reached the end of this guide, but more importantly, you have reached the beginning of a profound change in your life. Throughout these pages, we have broken down the great, intimidating idea of success into one single, repeatable action: the launch. We started by proving that the hardest step is simply moving from 0 to 1, breaking the cold grip of inertia. We then confronted the dangerous lie of perfection, teaching ourselves to launch quickly with what is good enough, knowing that feedback is far more valuable than flawless preparation. We learned to beat analysis paralysis by becoming a decision catalyst, choosing quick, acceptable risk over endless waiting. We armed ourselves with practical tools like the 5-minute rule, which proves that any giant project can be successfully tackled with consistent, tiny bursts of action. Then, we moved past the initial enthusiasm to learn the power of endurance. We found our relentless why, the purpose strong enough to carry us through the tough, boring middle part of any journey. We built action habits, stacking small, automatic actions onto our existing routines, making progress inevitable rather than an effort of willpower. Finally, we looked straight at the inevitable problems: the crashes, the failures, and the exhaustion. We committed to resilience, knowing that the key is not avoiding the crash, but implementing the minimum recoverable action and quickly committing to a next-day relaunch. All these principles lead to one single powerful goal: becoming a perpetual launcher, a person who treats every day as a new opportunity for creation and forward motion. Now, it is time to close this book, but you must not close the commitment you have made. The choice before you is simple: continue sitting in the comfortable waiting room of someday, or walk out and live in the powerful reality of now. Do not let this knowledge simply sit in your mind. The moment you finish reading this final sentence, you must choose one single concept from this book: the 5-minute rule, a new action habit, or finding the next tiny launch for your existing project, and do it immediately. Your life is not defined by the ideas you had or the perfect plans you almost finished. It is defined only by the actions you take. The gravity of old habits, the fear of judgment, and the illusion of needing perfection will always try to pull you back to 0. But you now have the blueprint, the tools, and the understanding to resist that pull. The only thing standing between you and the life you want is your next action. There is no better time, no better place, and no better chance than the one you have in your hands right now. Your journey of continuous creation starts again, right now. Launch now and never stop.